The sky over New Haven turned red without warning. Lisa Chen looked up from her microscope just as the first explosion shook the research building. She had been studying soil samples from the northern farmlands, trying to understand why the wheat grew so well on this colony world. Now, through the laboratory window, she watched fire bloom across the city center. "What's happening?" Her assistant Peter grabbed the desk as another blast hit closer. The building trembled. Equipment crashed to the floor. Lisa ran to the window. Ships hung in the atmosphere above the colony. They were massive, dark, and covered in sharp angles that made them look like floating insects. She had never seen ships like these before. More importantly, she had never seen any ships attack a human colony. "Get to the shelter," she told Peter. Her hands shook as she activated the emergency beacon. The colony had 12,000 people. Most of them were farmers, scientists, and their families. They had no weapons, no defenses. New Haven was a peaceful agricultural world, far from any disputed territory. Another explosion. This one hit the medical center 3 blocks away. Lisa watched the building collapse. She thought of Dr. Martinez, who worked there. His daughter was in her biology class. The attacking ships fired again. These weren't military targets. They were hitting homes, schools, the marketplace, where Lisa bought fresh vegetables every Saturday morning. She grabbed the emergency transmitter. Her fingers fumbled with the controls. Finally, the light blinked green. She was broadcasting to Earth, to anywhere that could hear. "This is Dr. Lisa Chen on New Haven. We are under attack. Unknown hostiles. They're targeting civilians. We need help. Please. We need." 2. The wall exploded inward. Lisa felt herself thrown across the room. Everything went dark. Far away, near the orbit of Mars, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defender. He was a tall man, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years in Earth's defense fleet. In all that time, they had never fought a real war. There had been disputes, arguments, tense moments, but never this. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call from New Haven." Jake watched the recording. He saw Lisa's terrified face, heard the explosions, watched the transmission cut to static. His jaw tightened. "Identify the attackers. Crithian Dominion, sir. Their battle fleet. At least 40 ships." Jake knew about the Crithians. Everyone did. They were one of the most powerful species in the Galactic Coalition. Insectoid. Aggressive. Always expanding their territory. But New Haven wasn't in disputed space. It was legally human territory, recognized by all Coalition members. "Get me the president," Jake said. On Earth, in the Capitol building, President Amy Rodriguez was in a meeting when her aide interrupted. Amy was a woman who rarely showed emotion in public. She had learned to keep her face calm during any crisis. But when she saw the footage from New Haven, her hands gripped the edge of the table. "How many casualties?" she asked. "Estimates are over 40,000 in the first hour, Madam President. And it's ongoing. 40,000. Amy closed her eyes for just a moment. Then she opened them and stood. "Convene an emergency session of the Galactic Coalition. Immediately." "Ma'am, the Coalition meeting procedures require—" "I don't care about procedures. Our people are dying. Get me that session." Within hours, Amy stood before the Council of 14. It was a circular chamber where representatives from 14 different species discussed matters of galactic importance. The Crithian ambassador sat in his pod, his mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "We demand an immediate ceasefire," Amy said, her voice carried across the chamber. "The Crithian assault on New Haven is unprovoked and in violation of Coalition law. We demand withdrawal of their forces and reparations for damages." The Crithian ambassador's translator made his words sound smooth and cold. "New Haven exists in space that rightfully belongs to the Dominion. Ancient territorial claims supersede your recent colonization. We are reclaiming what is ours. That's a lie, Amy shot back. New Haven was surveyed and approved by this very council. You had 2 years to file objections. You filed none. A representative from the Zeltari collective spoke. They were a peaceful species, traders mostly. Perhaps this is a matter for arbitration. We should form a committee to study. A committee? Amy stared at him. Thousands of my people are dead. Thousands more are dying right now. While you talk about committees, the Crithian ambassador made a chittering sound. Your species is young and weak, President Rodriguez. You have 3 small colonies and a handful of ships. We have armadas. We have conquered species that were older and stronger than you. Accept our claim to New Haven, or face more losses. Silence filled the chamber. Amy looked around at the other species. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. None spoke in support of Earth. She realized the truth then. They saw humanity as weak, as prey. The strong did what they wanted in this galaxy, and the weak suffered. Then let me be very clear, Amy said quietly. Withdraw your forces from New Haven within 7 days, or face the consequences. The Crithian ambassador laughed. It was a horrible sound, translated into something like scraping metal. Consequences? What will you do, human? Send your little ships to fight our fleet? We will crush you like the soft creatures you are. Amy didn't respond to the taunt. She simply looked at him. Her expression cold and hard. 7 days. Consider this your warning. 7 days. Consider this. 7 days. Consider this. Your warning. She turned and left the chamber. Her aide hurried after her. Madam President, our military advisors say we can't win against the Crithians. Their fleet outnumbers us 5-1. And their technology, on 5. We have percent. I know what our military advisors say, Amy interrupted. She walked faster, her heels clicking on the polished floor. Contact General Crawford. Tell him to open Project Lockbox. The aide stopped walking. Ma'am, that project was sealed. After the Unification Wars, we agreed. I know what we agreed, Amy said. But that was when we thought the galaxy was civilized. That was when we thought being part of the coalition meant something. She looked back at the council chamber. They think we're weak. They think because we choose peace, we've forgotten war. Have we? The aide asked quietly. Amy's smile was thin and cold. No. We just stopped advertising what we're capable of. Contact the general. It's time to remind ourselves what humanity built before we reached for the stars. And then it's time to show the Crithians why we tried to leave all that behind. Back on New Haven, Lisa Chen woke up in darkness. Her head hurt. She could hear screams outside. The building was on fire. She crawled toward the emergency exit, leaving bloody handprints on the floor. She made it outside and saw her city burning. The Crithian ships still hung overhead, firing methodically. They weren't just attacking. They were destroying everything. Lisa thought about her students, her friends, her neighbors. She thought about Earth, so far away, and she hoped that someone, somewhere, was coming to help. She didn't know that help was coming. She didn't know what form it would take. But the Crithians were about to learn something important about humanity. They were about to learn that peace is a choice, not a weakness. And they were about to learn that when you force peaceful people to remember war, you might not survive the lesson. 2 weeks passed since New Haven burned. The Crithian ships remained in orbit, controlling what was left of the colony. They allowed supply ships to bring food and medicine, but only under their supervision. It was humiliation, added to tragedy. President Amy Rodriguez had not slept much in those 2 weeks. She spent her time in meetings, some public, and some very private. Today's meeting was in a place that few people knew existed. The elevator descended for 5 minutes straight. Amy felt her ears pop from the pressure change. Beside her stood General Dan Crawford. a broad-shouldered man with scars on his hands from the last days of the Unification Wars. He had been a young soldier then. Now, his hair was white. "How long has it been since you were last here?" Amy asked. 32 years, Dan said. "The day we sealed it all up. We thought we were done with this." The elevator doors opened. They stepped into a facility that stretched as far as Amy could see. Lights flickered on automatically, row after row, revealing equipment that had sat dormant for decades. Dr. Sophie Grant waited for them. She was the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Research Division, though her actual job was much simpler these days. For 30 years, she had just been keeping everything locked down and maintained, making sure none of it decayed, making sure it would still work if ever needed again. "Everything functional?" Amy asked. "I've been running tests," Sophie said. She led them deeper into the facility. "The plasma cannons are ready. The quantum disruptors need another day to calibrate. The antimatter stockpile is stable. The AI combat systems went online this morning." Amy stopped walking. She looked at a massive weapons system mounted on a platform. She remembered reading about it in classified files. It could destroy a ship from 1,000 kilometers away. Before the Unification Wars ended, humanity had built hundreds of them. "How did we become this?" Amy asked quietly. Dan answered. "We fought ourselves for 50 years. 3 wars that almost ended everything. We got very good at killing. When we finally stopped, when we unified, we looked at what we'd built and were horrified. So we hid it all away. And when we made first contact with alien species," Sophie added, "we decided to show them our best side, not our worst. We wanted to be known for our culture, our science, our art, not our weapons. So we lied," Amy said. "We chose," Dan corrected. "We chose to be judged by our kindness rather than our capacity for violence. But we never forgot what we could do, if forced." Amy nodded slowly. "Show me everything." For 2 hours, Sophie walked them through the facility. She showed them weapons that the Galactic Coalition thought were impossible. She showed them ships that had been built in secret and hidden in the outer solar system. She showed them combat systems that could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously. "Why keep building?" Amy asked. "After unification, why keep developing weapons?" Sophie's expression was sad. "Because we knew the universe might not be as peaceful as we hoped. We prepared for the worst while working toward the best. Every year, we improved the designs. Every year, we hoped we'd never need them." Dan pulled up a holographic display. It showed the current locations of Earth's military forces, the small defense fleet near Mars, the patrol ships around the colonies. To anyone watching, it looked modest. Weak. Even. Then he entered a command code. The display changed. Suddenly, dozens more ships appeared. Hidden bases throughout the solar system lit up. Weapons, platforms in the asteroid belt became visible. "The galaxy thinks we have 23 warships," Dan said. "We actually have 207, plus another 96, in various stages of completion." Amy stared at the display. "How did we hide this?" "Carefully," Sophie said. "We built facilities in places no one would look. Deep space. Underground. We kept them off any network that could be hacked or scanned. Only a handful of people knew the full scope." "And now?" Amy asked. "Now we activate it all," Dan said. "Because the Crithians just attacked Redstone Colony." Amy's heart sank. "When?" 3 hours ago. We just received the distress call. They're doing the same thing they did to New Haven. Targeting civilians. The death toll is already in the thousands." Amy closed her eyes. She had tried the peaceful way. She had tried warnings and diplomatic channels. The Galactic Coalition had done nothing. And now, more of her people were dead. "How long until we're ready?" she asked. "We can deploy the first wave in 48 hours, Dan said. Full mobilization in 72 hours. Not good enough. People are dying now. Madam President, Sophie said carefully. If we rush this, if we reveal ourselves before we're ready, we risk everything. The Crithians might strike at Earth directly. Other species might see us as a threat and attack. We need to be overwhelming when we reveal our strength. No half measures. Amy knew Sophie was right. But the waiting felt like torture. 72 hours, Amy said. But we're not just deploying. We're sending one more message to the Crithians. A final warning. The next day, Amy stood before the Galactic Coalition again. This time, she had brought Admiral Jake Morrison with her. He stood in his formal uniform, his face expressionless. The Crithian Dominion has now attacked 2 human colonies, Amy said. They have killed over 70,000 civilians. We have asked you to intervene. You have refused. So now we issue our final warning directly to the Crithians. The Crithian ambassador's mandibles clicked. More warnings? Your words are empty, human. Your threats are, withdraw from all human territory within 72 hours, Amy interrupted. Her voice was cold. Remove your ships. Cease all hostile actions. Or face immediate military response. The chamber erupted in clicks, chirps, and translated voices. The Crithian ambassador made what sounded like laughing. You cannot defeat us, he said. We have studied your military. You have a few dozen ships. We have thousands. You have small weapons. We have planet killers. You are insects, pretending to be eagles. Amy didn't respond to him. Instead, she looked at the other coalition members. 72 hours. At the end of that time, we will demonstrate exactly what humanity is capable of. We suggest all neutral parties withdraw their forces from Crithian space, for their own safety. An old representative from the Vexara spoke. They were one of the oldest species in the coalition, thousands of years more advanced than humanity. President Rodriguez, are you certain about this path? War with the Crithians will not end well for your people. Amy met his gaze. We're certain. And I notice you're not offering to help. We have learned, the Vexara said slowly, that some species must fight their own battles. And we have learned that appearances can be deceiving. Something in his tone made Amy pause. Did he know something? Had the Vexara been watching Earth longer than anyone realized? But there was no time to pursue that question. She had delivered her warning. Jake Morrison stood beside her as they left the chamber. They think we're bluffing, he said quietly. I know. Some of my officers are scared. They've never fought a real war. They're worried we'll lose. Amy stopped walking. She looked at Jake. Tell your officers that humanity survived 3 extinction-level wars against ourselves. We built weapons that could have ended all life on Earth. We created technology that terrified us. And then we locked it all away, because we wanted to be better. She paused. But we never forgot how to fight. And we never will. End quote. Jake nodded. I'll tell them. Back on Earth, in the Antarctic facility, Sophie and her team worked around the clock. Weapons that had been dormant for decades roared to life. Ships that had waited in darkness moved toward launch positions. Across the solar system, hidden bases began final preparations. Colonel Ben Harper briefed his special operations team. They were the best soldiers humanity had. They had trained for scenarios that everyone hoped would never happen. Our target is the Crithian Military Command Center on their homeworld, Ben told them. We're going to hit them where they feel safest. We're going to show them that nowhere is beyond our reach. His soldiers listened carefully. They had all been through extensive training, but this was different. This was real. Are we really doing this? One of them asked. Going after their homeworld? Ben's smile was grim. They killed our civilians. They laughed at our warnings. They think we're weak. He looked at each of them. We're going to teach them the most important lesson in human history. Peace is a choice. And they just made us choose something else. The countdown began. 72 hours. 3 days, until humanity stopped pretending to be small and showed the galaxy what they really were. The Crithians didn't withdraw. They sent more ships to Redstone instead. They broadcast messages mocking Earth's warnings. They were confident in their power. They had no idea what was coming. In quiet shipyards throughout the solar system, weapons locked and loaded. Crews prepared for deployment. And humanity remembered what it meant to fight not for conquest or glory, but for survival and justice. The clock ticked down. And the galaxy was about to change forever. Commander Alex Reeves stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched his crew prepare for launch. The ship was beautiful, sleek and deadly in ways that no one outside Earth's military knew about. It had been built in a hidden shipyard beyond Neptune, constructed over 5 years by engineers who worked in absolute secrecy. All systems green, Lieutenant Maria Santos reported from her tactical station. She was young but brilliant, one of the best combat analysts in the fleet. Weapons fully charged. Slipspace drive ready. We can jump on your command. Weapons. Alex nodded. He was nervous, though he tried not to show it. He had joined Earth's defense fleet, hoping to explore space, to protect colonies from pirates or natural disasters. He had never expected to lead a warship into actual combat against a major galactic power. Time until deadline? He asked. 14 hours, 32 minutes, Maria said. 14 hours, until the Crithians learned what humanity really was. Alex hoped they would withdraw. He hoped this massive mobilization would be for nothing, that they could all stand down and return to peaceful service. But he didn't think the Crithians would back down. From everything he'd seen, they were too arrogant, too certain of their superiority. His communicator beeped. It was Admiral Jake Morrison. Commander Reeves, are you and your crew ready? Yes, sir. The Horizon's Edge is at full combat readiness. Good. Because you're going to be leading the first strike. Jake's voice was calm, but Alex could hear the weight behind it. Your target package is being uploaded now. Study it carefully. Alex pulled up the file. His eyes widened as he read. Sir, this target is... I know what it is, Jake said. Our orders are clear. We're not raiding border stations. We're not having a small engagement. When we move with overwhelming force directly at their center of power. Alex swallowed hard. Understood, sir. On Earth, President Amy Rodriguez prepared for what might be her last address to the Galactic Coalition. She stood in her office, looking at the speech her advisors had written. It was full of diplomatic language, careful phrases, measured tones. She deleted it and wrote something new. An hour later, she entered the council chamber. Every representative was present. The Crithian ambassador sat in his pod, his mandibles clicking in what seemed like amusement. He thought this was another futile protest. The 72-hour deadline expires in 14 hours, Amy began. She stood in the center of the chamber, her voice carrying clearly. I am here to issue one final warning, not just to the Crithian Dominion, but to this entire council. The Crithian ambassador made a dismissive sound. More empty words from, Be silent, Amy said. Her voice cracked like a whip. The translator made her words so sharp that the Crithian actually stopped speaking. You have killed 95,000 of my people, men, women, and children. Scientists, farmers, teachers. They were peaceful. They threatened no one. And you slaughtered them. She turned slowly, looking at each council member. We came to you for justice. We asked you to uphold your own laws. You did nothing. Some of you looked away. Others made excuses. The Crithians laughed. This is not appropriate, the Zeltari representative began. What's not appropriate, Amy interrupted, is allowing genocide and calling it a territorial dispute. What's not appropriate is having laws that mean nothing. What's not appropriate is this entire council being too cowardly to confront a bully. She pulled out a data chip and placed it on the projection table. Information flooded the displays around the chamber. These are the coordinates of every Crithian military installation within 5 systems of their homeworld. These are their defense patterns, their fleet positions, their command centers. The Crithian ambassador rose from his pod. How did you obtain classified military intelligence of the Dominion? Amy smiled coldly. We obtained it the same way we've been preparing for this moment for the past 2 weeks. While you laughed at us, we were working. While you thought we were weak, we were planning. While you celebrated your attacks on our colonies, we were getting ready to show you who we really are. You cannot threaten us, the Crithian snarled. In 14 hours, Amy said, speaking over him. If your forces have not withdrawn from all human territory, Earth will launch a military response. But not the response you expect. We will not attack your border stations. We will not have a small skirmish. We will strike at your homeworld. We will disable your orbital defenses. We will neutralize your fleet. Farmer, we will neutralize your fleet. Fiver, we will not attack your border stations. And we will do it so quickly and so completely that you will have no time to respond. The chamber erupted. Voices shouted in a dozen languages. The Crithian ambassador made a sound like grinding metal. This is madness, someone said. Humanity cannot possibly what? Amy asked. Cannot possibly defend ourselves? Cannot possibly have technology you didn't know about? Cannot possibly be more than you assumed? She looked around. Every species in this chamber made the same mistake. You saw that we chose peace and assumed we were incapable of war. You saw that we hid our weapons and assumed we had none. The old Vexara representative spoke. President Rodriguez, please reconsider. War with the Crithians will cost millions of lives. It already has cost lives, Amy said. 95,000 of them. All I'm doing is making sure we don't lose more. But you cannot win, the Crithian ambassador said. His confidence was returning. Your fleet is tiny. Your technology is primitive. You are one small world against our entire dominion. This is suicide. Amy walked toward him. She stopped right at his pod and looked up at his insectoid face. We gave you every chance to withdraw peacefully. We warned you. We begged this council to intervene. You responded with mockery and more attacks. She paused. So now, you'll see what humanity is really capable of. And I promise you this. You will regret forcing us to remind ourselves what we can do. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Her bodyguards followed. Behind her, the council dissolved into chaos. Ambassador Kyle Zhang caught up with her in the hallway. He was Earth's permanent representative to the council, a diplomatic veteran who had spent years building relationships with other species. Amy, you just threatened the entire Crithian Dominion in front of the whole council, he said. There's no going back from this. I know. If we fail, if our military can't deliver on what you just promised, we'll be destroyed. Every human world will be at risk. Amy stopped walking. Kyle, did you read General Crawford's battle plan? Yes. All of it? Including the classified annexes? Kyle nodded slowly. I did. And? He was quiet for a moment. I didn't know we had built all that. I didn't know we were capable of that level of force projection. None of us did, Amy said. That was the point. We wanted to be judged by our best qualities, but we never forgot our worst ones. We just stopped advertising them. Back in the council chamber, the Vexara representative accessed his private communication system. He sent a coded message to his homeworld. The humans are moving. Recommend all Vexara vessels withdraw from Crithian space immediately. Historical analysis confirms they are not bluffing. Leaving the Daco, his aide looked confused. Historical analysis? We've only known about humans for 40 years. 1. No, the old Vexara said quietly. We've known about them much longer. We just didn't tell anyone. And we certainly didn't tell the humans that we've been watching them since their nuclear age. He looked at the display, showing Earth's position. We've seen what they're capable of when they fight themselves. The Crithians are about to learn the same lesson. Across the galaxy, Lieutenant Maria Santos completed her analysis of the target data. She had run probability simulations for the upcoming battle. The results surprised her. "Commander Reeves," she called out. "Sir, these simulations, according to this, we're going to win. Not just survive. Actually win." Alex came to look at her screen. "How sure are you?" 97% probability, assuming our intelligence is accurate and our weapons perform as specified. She looked up at him. "Sir, I've been in the fleet for 6 years. I had no idea we had this much firepower." "None of us did," Alex said. "That was always the plan. Be underestimated. Be seen as small. And when someone forced us to act, hit them with everything we'd been hiding." "Is this really the right thing to do?" Maria asked quietly. "Attacking their homeworld?" Alex considered the question. "They killed our civilians." "They laughed when we warned them. They're still attacking Red Stone as we speak. The only thing that stops a bully is showing them you can hit back harder than they can hit you." He looked at the countdown timer. "In 13 hours, they're going to learn that lesson." On the Crithian homeworld, the military high command met to discuss Earth's latest threats. Most of them were amused. "The humans are desperate," one general said. "They speak of attacking us because they have no other options. It's sad, really." Should we reinforce our defenses?" another asked. "Why? What could they possibly do? Our orbital defense grid could stop 100 ships. Our fleet could destroy 1,000. The humans have perhaps 20 vessels. It would be a massacre." They laughed and continued planning their next attack. They were thinking about targeting Earth's final colony world, the mining station called Blue Ridge. They wanted to break humanity's spirit completely. They never considered that humanity's spirit had been forged in wars that made the Crithian expansion look gentle by comparison. Colonel Ben Harper and his special operations team boarded their stealth ship. It was small, fast, and completely invisible to standard sensors. They had trained for impossible missions. This was what they were built for. "Remember," Ben told his team, "we don't start the shooting. But when Admiral Morrison gives the signal, we hit fast and hard. Our job is to blind their command structure, make sure they can't coordinate a defense." "And if civilians get in the way?" one soldier asked. "We avoid them," Ben said firmly. "We're not them. We don't target civilians. Ever. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us human." The countdown continued. 12 hours, 11 hours, 10. The Crithians didn't withdraw. They didn't even pull back their forces. Instead, they sent reinforcements to New Haven, broadcasting messages about how they would teach humanity its place in the galactic order. They were so confident, so certain. They had no idea that in hidden bases throughout Earth's solar system, 200 warships were beginning their final checks before launch. They had no idea that humanity had spent 30 years hiding the tools of their survival, and they were about to learn that the most dangerous enemy is one who tried peace first. The countdown reached 0 at exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The Crithian forces at New Haven continued their patrol patterns. Their commanders on the homeworld slept peacefully, confident in their superiority. Then space itself seemed to tear open. Commander Alex Reeves felt his stomach twist as the horizon's edge dropped out of slipspace. One moment they were near Earth's moon. The next moment, they hung in orbit above the Crithian homeworld, surrounded by 150 other human warships that had materialized at exactly the same instant. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Maria Santos said. Her voice was steady despite the massive display of force on her screens. "We have complete tactical surprise. Their defense grid hasn't even activated yet." Alex took a breath. This was it. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "This is Commander Reeves to all vessels," he said over the fleet channel. You know your targets. Fire on my mark. He paused, looking at the planet below. Billions of Crithians lived there. But they had chosen to attack humanity's civilians. Now, their military would pay the price. Fire. The space around the Crithian homeworld lit up like a sun. Plasma cannons that shouldn't exist released devastating beams of energy. Quantum disruptors that the Galactic Coalition thought were impossible tore through shields like paper. Antimatter torpedoes, each carrying enough destructive power to level a city, streaked toward military targets. The Crithian orbital defense grid tried to activate. Weapons, platforms that had guarded their world for centuries, began charging their systems. They never got the chance to fire. Colonel Ben Harper's stealth team struck first. They had slipped past the outer patrols hours ago, hiding in the planet's sensor shadow. Now they launched their attack on the military command center that controlled the entire defense grid. Charges planted, Ben reported. Detonating. In 3, 2, 1. The command center exploded. Not a large blast, but a precise one that destroyed the main control systems while leaving the surrounding city untouched. The orbital defense grid went dark instantly. Grid is down, Maria confirmed. Enemy ships are scrambling to launch, but they're disorganized. Alex watched as Crithian warships tried to respond. They were some of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy, feared by dozens of species, but they were launching in groups of 3 or 4, confused and without coordination. The human fleet had been training for this exact scenario for 30 years. Alpha Wing, engage the launching ships, Alex ordered. Beta Wing, secure orbital space. Charlie Wing, maintain position for bombardment support. The battle that followed was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, their AI combat systems linking them into a single deadly network. Where the Crithians launched 4 ships, 20 human vessels would be waiting. Where the Crithians tried to form a defensive line, human forces would slip through gaps they didn't know existed. Admiral Jake Morrison watched from his command ship near the outer edge of the system. He had overall command of the operation, but he barely needed to give orders. The plan was working perfectly. Sir, we're detecting Crithian reinforcements jumping in from their outer colonies, his tactical officer reported. Approximately 60 ships. How long until they arrive? 15 minutes. Jake nodded. Send the reserve fleet to intercept. I want them stopped before they reach the homeworld. 30 human warships that had been waiting in stealth mode suddenly appeared between the homeworld and the incoming reinforcements. The Crithian ships found themselves facing weapons they couldn't defend against and tactics they had never encountered. On the surface of the Crithian homeworld, the military leadership finally understood what was happening. Their orbital defenses were gone. Their fleet was being destroyed, and human warships were broadcasting a message directly to them. This is Admiral Jake Morrison of Earth Defense Fleet, the message said in perfect Crithian language. You were warned. You chose not to listen. Your military forces are being neutralized. Your orbital space is under our control. But note carefully. We are striking only military targets. We are not attacking your cities. We are not targeting your civilians. We are not doing to you what you did to us. He paused, letting that sink in. However, if you attempt to target human colonies again, if you fire on our civilian populations, we will respond with total war. This is your only warning. Surrender now, or watch your entire military burn. The Crithian High Command faced an impossible choice. They could keep fighting and lose everything, or they could surrender to a species they had considered weak. Pride fought with survival. In orbit, Alex led a precision strike on the Crithian flagship. The massive vessel was twice the size of his ship, covered in heavy armor and weapons. But size didn't matter when facing human technology. Target their engine core, Alex ordered. Disable, don't destroy. The Horizon's Edge fired a quantum disruptor beam. The weapon didn't exist in any public database. The Crithians had no defense against it. The beam passed through their shields like they weren't there and pierced deep into the ship's engineering section. The flagship went dark. Life support remained. Crew survival systems still functioned, but the massive warship was now just a floating metal shell. Flagship disabled, Maria reported. They're venting atmosphere from the engine room, but casualties appear minimal. That was important. The human forces were being ruthless but not cruel. Every shot was calculated to destroy military capability while preserving lives where possible. This wasn't revenge. This was a lesson. Across 5-star systems, the same scene repeated itself. Human forces emerged from slip space near every major Crithian military installation. They struck with overwhelming force and perfect precision. Defense stations went dark. Weapons platforms were disabled. Military shipyards found their construction bays destroyed, while the workers inside were evacuated first. General Dan Crawford coordinated the multi-system assault from a command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Holographic displays showed him every battle simultaneously. His staff worked in calm efficiency, adjusting tactics in real time based on enemy responses. The Crithian colony fleet is attempting to retreat to their homeworld, an officer reported. Let them go, Dan said. We want them concentrated, easier to keep an eye on. Dr. Sophie Grant stood beside him, monitoring the performance of weapons that had been theoretical until 2 weeks ago. The quantum disruptors are exceeding projections, she said, and the AI combat systems are adapting faster than the Crithians can respond. How long until complete tactical dominance? Dan asked. We already have it, Sophie said quietly. The Crithians have lost. They just don't know if they want to admit it yet. On Redstone Colony, the Crithian forces that had been attacking civilians suddenly found themselves facing a different problem. Human warships had arrived in system, and they were not happy. This is Captain Linda Hayes of the Defender, a voice broadcast to the Crithian ships. You are currently occupying human territory and have been engaged in attacks on civilian targets. You have 2 options: surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to decide. 3. The Crithian commander at Redstone had heard the reports from the homeworld. He had seen what human forces were doing to their military. He wasn't a fool. We surrender, he transmitted. Smart choice, Linda said. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any attempt to harm civilians during this process will result in immediate destruction. Are we clear? We are clear. Within 6 hours of the operation beginning, it was over. The Crithian military had been effectively destroyed. Not eliminated, but rendered completely unable to threaten anyone. Their homeworld was under human control. Their fleet was disabled or captured. Their installations were dark, and humanity had accomplished all of this with minimal casualties on both sides. Total human losses: 3 ships damaged, 47 personnel injured, 12 dead. Total Crithian losses: over 300 ships disabled, 42 destroyed when they refused to surrender, approximately 2,000 military casualties. It could have been so much worse. The humans could have done to the Crithians what the Crithians had done to New Haven. They could have bombarded cities. They could have targeted civilians. They could have shown no mercy. Instead, they had shown exactly what they were: a species that remembered how to fight, but preferred not to. A species that could wage war with devastating efficiency, but chose to do so with restraint. President Amy Rodriguez addressed the Galactic Coalition from the bridge of Admiral Morrison's ship, with the Crithian homeworld visible in the background. The Crithian Dominion has been neutralized, she said. Their military is under human control. Their leadership has surrendered unconditionally. We did not do this because we wanted to. We did this because you gave us no choice. She looked directly at the camera, knowing that every species in the galaxy was watching. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Humanity chose peace. We joined the Galactic Coalition in good faith. We hid our weapons and our history because we wanted to be known for our best qualities, not our worst. But when you forced us to act, when you killed our people and laughed at our warnings, we showed you what we're truly capable of. The old Vexara representative spoke from his council seat. President Rodriguez, what are your intentions toward the Crithian people? We will occupy their military installations until we're satisfied they pose no threat, Amy said. We will oversee the trial of those responsible for the attacks on our colonies. We will ensure they cannot harm anyone else. But we will not destroy their civilization. We will not occupy their worlds. We will not become the monsters they tried to make us. She paused. We're going to do something that may seem strange to some of you. We're going to help them rebuild. We're going to show them a better way. Because that's who humans are. We remember how to fight. But we prefer to teach. Alex Reeves stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the defeated Crithian fleet. He felt no joy in the victory. Only sadness that it had been necessary. Commander, Maria said softly, we just proved we're one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Everyone will see us differently now. I know, Alex said. That's what worries me. We didn't want to be feared. We wanted to be respected for the right reasons. Maybe this was the only way to earn that respect, Maria suggested. Alex shook his head. Or maybe we just taught the galaxy that might makes right. That the strong can do what they want. That's exactly the lesson we were trying to avoid. But as he watched human ships moving with perfect discipline, maintaining order, treating prisoners with dignity, he realized something. They were showing the galaxy a different kind of strength. The strength to win without becoming cruel. The strength to dominate without destroying. The strength to remember mercy even in victory. Maybe that was the real lesson. Not that humanity was powerful, but that power didn't have to corrupt. That you could be strong and still be good. The war was over. Now came the harder part. Proving they deserved the peace that would follow. 3 months had passed since the day humanity revealed its true strength. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. President Amy Rodriguez walked through the rebuilt streets of New Haven with Dr. Lisa Chen. The colony had been badly damaged in the Crithian attack. But reconstruction was happening faster than anyone expected. Ships from a dozen different species had arrived with supplies, offering to help. It seemed that everyone wanted to be on humanity's good side now. How are your students doing? Amy asked Lisa. Better than expected, Lisa said. She had returned to teaching after recovering from her injuries. They're scared, but they're healing. Some of them want to join the military now. They want to make sure this never happens again. Amy nodded. She understood that feeling. The attack had changed everyone who survived it. They passed a memorial wall where the names of 40,000 dead colonists were carved into black stone. Amy stopped and placed her hand on the wall. These people had died because the galaxy thought humanity was weak, because no one had come to help when they needed it most. Do you think we did the right thing? Lisa asked quietly. The way we responded. I mean, some people are saying we went too far, and some people are saying we didn't go far enough, Amy replied. She looked at the names on the wall. The truth is, somewhere in between. We showed the galaxy what we're capable of. We stopped the Crithians from killing more of our people. But we did it without becoming monsters ourselves. That's what matters. Done on Cram. Done on Cram. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Coalition was having its largest restructuring in 200 years. Ambassador Kyle Jang stood before the full council, presenting a new treaty. The old system failed, he said bluntly. When the Crithians attacked us, you did nothing. Your laws meant nothing. Your promises of collective security were empty. So now, we're proposing changes. The treaty was comprehensive. It included actual enforcement mechanisms, mandatory assistance for members under attack, and real consequences for aggression. Many species supported it immediately. They had seen what happened when humanity was left with no choice but to act alone. Some species objected. They worried about giving up sovereignty, about committing their forces to defend others. Kyle listened patiently to their concerns, then showed them footage from New Haven. Burning buildings, dead children, families destroyed. This is what happens when we have laws without teeth, he said. This is what happens when we let bullies act without consequences. You can debate sovereignty all you want, but remember, we gave you every chance to help us peacefully. You refused. So we helped ourselves. Is that really the galaxy you want to live in? The treaty passed with overwhelming support. On the Crithian homeworld, General Dan Crawford met with the remnants of their military leadership. The occupation had been surprisingly peaceful. Human forces had been firm but fair, treating Crithian civilians with respect and helping maintain order during the transition. Your people will be allowed to rebuild your military, Dan told the Crithian Council. But it will be a defensive force only, subject to coalition oversight. Any attempt to build offensive capabilities will result in immediate intervention. One of the Crithian leaders, an old warrior named Kresh, spoke carefully. You defeated us completely. You could have destroyed our civilization. Why didn't you? Dan thought about how to explain it. Because we've been where you are. Humanity fought ourselves for 50 years. We built weapons that could have ended all life on our world. We came very close to destroying ourselves. When we finally stopped, when we finally unified, we realized something important. What? Kresh asked. That strength without wisdom is just destruction. That winning a war means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. That the real measure of a civilization isn't how much they can destroy, but how much they choose to build. Kresh was silent for a long moment. We called you weak. We thought your peace meant you were cowards. A lot of species made that mistake, Dan said. But now you know better. We chose peace because we knew the alternative. We remembered what war truly means. And when you forced us to fight, we showed you exactly what we learned from our history. Dr. Sophie Grant visited the Antarctic facility where so many weapons had been stored. Now the facility was being partially decommissioned. Some of the weapons would remain, maintained, and ready if ever needed again. But others were being converted for peaceful purposes. Antimatter systems became power generators. Combat AI became traffic controllers and medical assistants. We're not getting rid of everything, she told her staff. We learned that lesson the hard way. Being unprepared for war is what made the Crithians think they could attack us safely. We'll keep enough to defend ourselves, but we won't define ourselves by our weapons anymore. A young engineer asked, Do you think we'll have to use them again? Sophie looked at the weapons surrounding them. I hope not. But hope isn't a strategy. We'll be ready. We'll be strong. But we'll also be what we've always tried to be, a species that prefers building to destroying, that values life over victory, that remembers the cost of war so clearly that we'll do almost anything to avoid it. Admiral Jake Morrison retired 2 months after the war ended. He had spent 30 years in the military, and he was tired. At his retirement ceremony, President Rodriguez gave him the highest medal Earth offered. You did what you had to do, she told him. And you did it with honor. The fleet fought with precision and restraint. We won, but we didn't lose ourselves in the winning. Jake accepted the medal, but he looked troubled. I keep thinking about the people we killed. The Crithian soldiers. They were just following orders. Some of them probably didn't even agree with the attacks. I know, Amy said. And we'll carry that weight. That's what makes us different from species like the old Crithian Dominion. We remember every life we take. We feel the cost. That's not weakness. That's conscience. Commander Alex Reeves was promoted to captain and given command of a new diplomatic mission. His job was to visit other species and demonstrate humanity's new position in the galaxy. But also to show that power hadn't changed who humans were. Lieutenant Maria Santos went with him as his second-in-command. Together, they visited worlds throughout the coalition, meeting with species who had never taken humanity seriously before. They're treating us differently now, Maria observed after one such meeting. They listen when we speak. They're careful with their words. They're afraid of us. And, Ender, they were listens. I know, Alex said. And that's the problem. We wanted respect, but what we got is fear. Maybe fear is a kind of respect, Maria suggested. Or maybe it's just fear, Alex replied. And fear makes people do stupid things. It makes them build weapons, form alliances against you, see you as a threat even when you're trying to be a friend. But slowly, over time, something changed. Humanity began sharing technology with other species. Not weapons, but medical advances, agricultural techniques, educational systems. They helped species who asked for help. They mediated disputes between other worlds. They acted exactly as they had always wanted to act, but now people paid attention. Now people listened. The old Vexera representative requested a private meeting with President Rodriguez. They met in a quiet garden on Earth, where flowers bloomed and birds sang. I owe you an explanation, the Vexara said. We have watched your species for much longer than you know. Since your nuclear age, we have observed you. Amy was surprised. Why didn't you ever make contact? Because we wanted to see what you would become. We've met many young species. Most follow predictable paths. They destroy themselves, or they mature slowly, or they remain small. You did something different. What did we do? You nearly destroyed yourselves, then pulled back from the edge. You built weapons that terrified you, then locked them away. You chose peace, not from weakness, but from understanding the cost of war. That's rare. That's special. The Vexara looked at her with ancient eyes. When the Crithians attacked you, we knew what would happen. We tried to warn them, but they didn't listen. You could have helped us, Amy said, feeling a flash of anger. You could have stopped it before it started. We could have, the Vexra agreed. But then you would never have shown the galaxy who you really are. Sometimes, the hardest lessons are the most important ones. Amy wanted to argue, but she understood the logic. The galaxy had needed to see humanity's strength, and humanity had needed to remember it themselves. On New Haven, a year after the attack, Lisa Chen taught a class about different alien species. Her students were interested in the Crithians now. They asked questions about their biology, their culture, their history. Are they all bad? One student asked. No, Lisa said. Their leadership made bad choices. Their military culture valued conquest over cooperation. But most Crithians are just people trying to live their lives, like us. The ones who attacked us were a symptom of a sick system. Now, they're building a healthier one. Because we forced them to, another student said. Yes, Lisa admitted. Sometimes change only comes through conflict. But what matters is what we do after the conflict ends. We could have destroyed them. We didn't. We could have occupied their worlds. We didn't. We showed them a better way, and helped them follow it. President Rodriguez stood on the deck of a new space station being built at the edge of human space. It would be a hub for diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. Species from across the galaxy were contributing to its construction. Colonel Ben Harper stood beside her. He had been promoted and now led Earth's Special Operations Training Program, teaching the next generation of soldiers. Do you think we'll have peace now? Ben asked. I think we'll have a better chance at peace than we did before, Amy said. The galaxy knows we're strong. They know we can defend ourselves. But they also know we don't want to conquer anyone. We just want to live in a universe where people can't attack civilians without consequences. And if someone tests us again, then we remind them of what happened to the Crithians, Amy said. Not with threats, just with facts. We gave them every chance. We warned them. We tried diplomacy. Only when all else failed did we act. And when we did act, we were overwhelming, but not cruel. That's the reputation we need to maintain. She looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were thousands of species, millions of worlds, all watching to see what humanity would do with its newfound power. We spent 30 years hiding our strength, Amy continued. We wanted to be judged by our kindness, our creativity, our contributions to galactic culture, and we were judged that way, but we were also dismissed as weak. Now we've shown our strength. The challenge is making sure we're still judged by those other qualities too. Can we do both? Ben asked. Be strong and be good? We have to, Amy said. Because if we let our strength define us, if we become the thing we fought against, then the Crithians will have won even in their defeat. They'll have turned us into another version of them. Below them, the space station continued to grow. Human engineers worked alongside Zeltari designers and Vexara architects. Species that had never cooperated before were building something together. Maybe that was the real victory. Not the military triumph, but this. The proof that power didn't have to corrupt. That strength could be used for protection rather than conquest. That the species who nearly destroyed themselves could become the ones who brought others together. In a memorial garden on Earth, a young cadet asked President Rodriguez a question. Will Earth keep its weapons? Yes, Amy said. We'll keep them. We'll maintain them. We'll make sure they work. Because the galaxy now knows they exist. And hiding them again would be pointless and dangerous. But won't that make people afraid of us? Some people. Yes. But we'll also keep doing what we've always done. We'll share our science. We'll help species in need. We'll mediate disputes. We'll teach. We'll build. We'll create. And over time, people will remember that our strength is just one part of who we are. She looked at the young cadet. The most important thing you need to understand is this. Our weapons didn't make us strong. Our willingness to use them when necessary, combined with our restraint in how we use them, that's what makes us strong. Anyone can destroy. It takes real strength to know when to stop, to show mercy, to help your enemy become something better. The cadet nodded, and Amy hoped he truly understood. That was the lesson humanity needed to pass to the next generation. Not how to fight, but why to fight. And more importantly, why to stop fighting. Admiral Morrison's final log entry, written on the day of his retirement, was added to Earth's military archives. We were tested. We responded. We won. But the real test isn't over. Now we have to prove that power doesn't corrupt us, that victory doesn't make us arrogant, that strength doesn't make us cruel. We have to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest achievement isn't our weapons. It's that after everything we've been through, after all the wars we fought and all the destruction we caused ourselves, we still choose peace whenever we can. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us worthy of the power we possess. The galaxy watched. The galaxy learned. And slowly, carefully, humanity showed them what it meant to be strong and good, powerful and kind, ready for war, but working for peace. That was Earth's true victory. Not the battle they won, but the example they set.